to Rising Faith Forever. Glad to see you. I haven't posted in a while. I just was taking some time to kind of work on myself a little bit more. This is an ever-changing, ever-expanding type of study. So while I was starting my learning journey, there were parts of it that I had to take in for myself. I've always been good at kind of working through other people's energy and like spent a lot of time not in my own emotion and feelings sometimes throughout my life. So I've had to go deeper within myself to figure out some things to make my life better, that are a little bit deeper. So I needed to take that time for myself so that I could have more of an anchor in the middle of the sea so I don't get as lost in it. So it's taken me some time. But today, I thought we were just going to run through all 12 signs. I know I always start with Aries because it's the way I wrote it down in my book. I made it in order of the 12 houses so I wouldn't forget the order. So we will start with Aries and end with Pisces. Hope that's okay. I'm going to do 3 cards each with a clarifying card. So that's about 6 cards. Plus I'll look at the bottom of the deck. So that's about 7 cards per sign. So hopefully I'll be able to do this in under 2 hours. I will try and have timestamps as well. So thank you guys for tuning in once again. And I'm also going to do 1 starseed card from the Starseed Oracle deck. So we'll do that, sure, why not? And it'll be a growth and release reading for each sign. So how's everyone feeling today? Is everyone doing well? Let's manifest wellness. So let's be grateful for our health, our wealth, and our relationships, the love we have in our life. And there will be fire. Sounding light from sage. And this beautiful seashell. My little niece, she loves to come over, and she's kind of like what with me and my grandmother when I was younger. My grandmother was really into Reiki and healing and tarot cards, and it's just so fun. It's great to share that with members of your family. And she's so young, and it's just very cute. Get her getting excited. I did her a tarot reading one time, and if the Tower or the Devil card comes up, she's like, "That's a bad card." And I'm like, yeah, it can be negative, but you know, there's good sides to it. And she's just like listening to it all. It's so amazing. I just think it's so cute. How kids get right emotional about stuff. It's like they see like the Devil card, they're like, ooh. It's just these concepts are so new to them, so it's refreshing to remember for ourselves how that felt. So we're just going to take a deep breath and relax. Breathe all the way in nice and relaxed. I can smell the sage. Smells good. I'm not sure if everyone likes the smell of sage, but it is a bit different. But often we can train ourselves, even if we don't really love a scent, we can train ourselves to enjoy it more by attaching a scent to an idea or a thought pattern you're trying to create, a healthy thought pattern you're trying to create. You can use scent therapy, which is interesting. I can see how that works. It can really kind of take the mind out of its current thought pattern. When we smell something, it gives us like permission to be like, okay, I'll switch to this thing. So it's really important that you couple any sort of thoughts or spiritual beliefs with like some sort of physical practice, because it will make it more impactful. The world, then, you're speaking the multi-languages of the world, so the world will hear you more. Because the world communicates in far more ways than just hearing and seeing and touching and shapes and patterns. So we got Ace of Wands helping out here. So lots of new passions on the go for this new year. This is going to be just a January reading. Just a general beginning of January, mid-January, or late January. Just whenever you get this, it might resonate. Obviously, don't try to force things to resonate. It should always be a confirmation, like, oh, that's already something I'm thinking about. Or when you hear it, if you've never heard it before, it should be like a reminder. Like, it should be able to be like, oh, that makes sense based on things you know about yourself. It's always a personal journey. All right, so first up is Aries. Aries, 3-card growth and release. Please, thank you, for their highest good for the month of January. For Aries. That's true. Okay, and bottom we have Justice. So we have the Devil, the King of Swords, and the Two of Wands. So now I'm going to pull a Starseed card. cellular healing. Arcturus energy. Am I saying that right? Arcturus energy. Physical and emotional healing. That's beautiful. The card itself is very beautiful. It's like an angel in some galactic cathedral. Okay. So, the first card, what we need to know, is the Devil. And the Devil is all about our lower vibrations. It's about our fears, our weaknesses, our ability to kind of like fight back against the more negative aspects of ourselves. Represented here by this man and woman with a wrench and a shovel, and this mechanical devil is blowing smoke everywhere and steam, and it's really warm and hot work trying to combat this machine, trying to fix it. So perhaps in the new year there could be lots of goals, things that you know you wanted to do or needed to do, and it could seem that maybe with like New Year's resolutions and stuff, like maybe things could have went well, and maybe some things didn't, or were really challenging, like they're not what you thought they would be. Like this man and this woman, when they went to work that day, I'm sure that they didn't expect this machine of a devil to kind of explode and give them more hell, so to speak, than they thought when they were going to have the day that work, have that day at work. So, but the fire is still burning. There are all components here to succeed, to overcome. The devil reminds us in this position of needing to know that there's always going to be some sort of negativity present in our lives, and it's not that the goal should be like, per se, like say, like in your let go position is the Two of Wands. Like if you're needing to make a decision, and the King of Swords is all about communication. So the Devil is also a major arcana card. So it's a major lesson. Like when we start new things, there's always going to be sometimes a little bit of mud. Like in the beginning, it's like you're walking through like a bog or a swamp. It's going to be hard because there's lots of soft soils in the water. It's not like an easy trod sometimes starting out. But as we get through, I mean, to the middle of the swamp, you know, you're not walking in the mud anymore. You could be swimming. Or, so often in the beginning, it can be a little slow. As I think what we need to know about this. But the King of Swords is one that is not idle because it is the King of Swords is one that is not idle because one is absorbed. There is both visible and invisible labor. To contemplate is to toil. To think is to do. By Victor Hugo. The core meaning, someone who is driven by ideas, systems, and communication. So right now you could be having lots of ideas. There could be new systems you're recognizing and wanting to implement into your life. And overall communication. you're waiting on the right communication. You need the right communication, or there's some communication within yourself that you're needing to explore and look at and understand. Sometimes we need to make friends with our inner demons, with our inner devils, to pacify them, to be like, well, if you thought you were going to have me scared of you and just keep me in this negativity, well, you don't scare me, you're my friend. And then in that like sort of mental example, it's like they don't have a quarry with you anymore. It's sort of like, or they know they don't have that same effect. So that usually does quiet the inner demons or the inner devils or the inner negativity, when you're kind of just like, I see you, I recognize it. It's not that I'm going to feed into it or I'm going to ignore it, but I'm just going to accept it. It was a necessary part of my life. You know, the devil's in the details. Like often when you're starting a journey or a business or some sort of, like, you know, like every story has a challenge or a villain or something that to the main character is not good and bad, but to the overall story, it's necessary. And the King of Swords represents your communication, like your willingness to go through these ideas and systems and communication, to learn what can you, so this is in the grow position, so growing that awareness, that communication is important, knowing which is the right people to approach with that, and to combat these times. And the Two of Wands, like twos are all about twos are duality, balance, relationship, choices. So yeah, there's also that comes with ideas and systems and communication, also brings in duality and balance and relationships and choices. And sometimes for our overall best system, or like when we go through different ideas and systems, so we find out what works, what was a duality, what was the balance, and what was the relationships involved, and what choices were made by you and other people. And that brings about, again, more communication and ideas and systems. So what this card is hinting to is perhaps the ability to let go of the relationships, the choices, let go of the types of people you're communicating, or systems and ideas, like let go of, because these two popped up together, the King of Swords and Two of Wands. So I'm kind of reading them both in their positions, like, and that makes sense because they're both kind of like working together in what I think is being seen here. So let what doesn't grow go. Like, don't hold on to like bags and bags of weeds that you plucked from your garden, thinking, oh, I still need these weeds. Simply, weeds are meant to just be composted. Like, figure out where it needs to go and then release it. Even if it's just a mental exercise, like it could be physical, like recycling or doing something. But if it's just mental, then just practice like recycling the negativity and using that towards something positive, is what I want to say here. And also, the Two of Wands is a wielder of fire, does not chant any, mini, miny, mo, hesitation over decision. So yes, you don't want to be hesitating too much. You want to really, really kind of know where you're going in order to get there in a timely fashion. Like if you left your house that day and you were like, I'm I'm going to go to the mall. And then halfway to the mall, you're like, oh, I forgot I have to pick up my prescription. And you went to go get your prescription. And then you get a call from, I don't know, your sister or your family member. And they're like, oh, you have to come right away and pick up my kid from school because I'm held up at work. You know what I mean? Like sometimes life can give us like sort of scenarios where it's like, oh, I can't make the decision for myself or do the thing I really wanted to do. But there's always going to be time, even if you have to like change your system or your idea or your schedule, you will get it done. And prioritizing the decision that's your best good is sometimes what you have to focus on. Life will always kind of put things in your way and say, okay, you have to deal with them. But there are some things you can put on pause and be like, okay, I don't have to deal with right now. I can put off, and there's some things you can't. So learn to be flexible with the things that aren't as important so that you can make time for things that are more important to you. So I hope that helps, Aries. I'm going to give you a clarifying card on the Devil. Give me something on the Devil. 10 of Cups. See? If you don't let the Devil get in the way, if you don't let these negative thoughts, what you need to know is that you're going to have completion. 10s are completions of cycles. They're in the cups is happiness and bliss. So you're going to have that. Know that you're going to get that. And a knowing is like, I already got it. Like, it's like whatever you want, just within yourself, be like, have faith that you already have it until it comes. Like, allow yourself to be happy. You find that the thoughts are like the devil's pulling you into the negativity, so to speak. We often do it to ourselves, but the devil represents our more negative self. So when that starts chattering too loud, kind of recycle that thought into that happiness, that 10 of Cups. So give me something on the King of Swords in the Grove. Oh. Sees the 6 of Cups, Temperance, and the Sun. That made an appearance. I don't know. That might mean something to you. Alright, King of Swords. Let's go with the Knight of Cups. So if you're going to get this 10 of Cups in the growing position with the King of Swords, you're going to meet this Knight of Cups, or you know a Knight of Cups, or you yourself could have this Knight of Cups energy where it's like you're going after that 10th cup. You're in pursuit of it. So the Knight of Cups says that Juliet's a poser. And perhaps that could be because if we look at what Romeo kind of was like more honest, and he just sort of went for it. He didn't care that their families were in that much feud. Like when they got married in secret, and then her family tried to cover it up and be like, okay, you have to marry this other person. He looks better in society. You can't marry that person from that family. And literally her family said to her, if you do not marry this person, she's like, well, I'm already married and consummated our marriage to Romeo. So it was sort of underhanded that her family was like, okay, well, we're just going to hide that and forget about it, and now you're going to have to marry this other person. And she was like, no, I will not. I won't. I love Romeo. And then the family said, well, if you don't, you'll be thrown to the street. We'll disown you. You'll be disinherited. You'll have nothing. Like, and you'll embarrass the family, so to speak. So she agreed. But then she did that underhanded tactic where it was like, oh, I'm going to poison myself and I'm going to get what I want. I'm going to keep my relationship with my family because they think I just died and I don't hurt anyone's feelings, and you know what I mean? And then I can go on and have my secret life with Romeo. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's almost like she wanted her cake and eat it too. Like, Romeo at this point had already been like, you know, screw you, family, and he already moved to some cottage in a neighboring town. So, like, by the time he got there and she had died, like, he was late to know about that because the letter hadn't received in time. Like, he didn't get the letter that was being sent to him. So, literally, he just made his own actions then. He went to the poison apothecary, he got that poison and all that, and then at the end, when she was, like, kind of complaining when she woke up and saw him, that he had died and took the poison, she picks up the bottle and is kind of having like a tantrum. She's like, oh, like, you didn't even leave me a drop. Now I have to, like, basically do it the hard way. Like, you know, like, woe is me. It didn't work out the way I wanted. And now that you're dead, that's going to come back on my family. I can't go back to my family. It was almost like, you know, she was in this big mess. So it was like no wonder she was angry enough to have to put it through her gut. Like, so I think it shows that some people are honest in love, and some people are lying to themselves and trying to please everybody, and they're not really focused. Like, she should have just matched Romeo's energy and been like, you know what, family, screw it. So maybe that's why the Knight of Cups thinks of Juliet like a poser. Like, you're just some weeping type of female that's like, you're not gonna do what's best for you. Like, so was your love really that worth it or that valuable in the first place if you didn't want to honestly and directly put that forward? So the Knight of Cups probably fancies themselves like the real, like more or less, if you really love someone, you'll just unapologetically love them, and it doesn't matter what other people think, right? Like, more or less, Romeo was probably more there than she was in that regard. Or no doubt she loved him, but she just loved her relationship, her family, and keeping that stuff. You know, it was like, if you love everything, do you really have this profound love for Romeo? Or were you just kind of like playing a game and just hoping to get your way, and then when it didn't work out, it was like, ugh. I don't know. But anyway, I don't know about that. But that's an interesting story. Maybe that's what that card interpretation was hinting to. But let's get something on the Two of Wands. Two of Wands. The King of Pentacles. Okay, so choices. We seem to have a Knight of Cups in the grow and the King of Swords in the grow. And then we have a King of Pentacles. So there could be choices between lots of different individuals. There could be lots of energies within yourself you could be embodying and resonating with. So that's what could be hard about making a decision. It's like, well, I connect with this person on that. Well, but I do business really well with this person. And, oh, but this person has a new entrepreneuric idea that I want to be involved in. Like, there could just be so many people you're connecting with right now over different things. So remember, balance, duality. There's a time and a place to meet with certain people over certain things. Make sure that you are valuing your highest good. You're not just being pulled along. Unless you're at a crossroads and you want to just sort of be pulled along until you can find yourself. Like, sometimes that's okay too. But if you're feeling like you know the direction you're going in and other people are just getting in the way of that, or presenting challenges, then kind of look at how you can get to the heart of the issue, resolve it, bring back that balance, and allow people to understand, like, this is where I really want my attention. Like, don't be like Juliet, like, thinking you can have it all and have everyone happy, and you're like, you know? Because that's when probably everything's going to go wrong, is when you're trying to, like, when you're trying to keep too many things looking good. Like, at this point, if she was going to, like, believe her family anyway and have to have a life with Romeo, like, you know, without her family's money, I mean, she could have just left and been like, well, if you just entitle me, screw it. I'm going to leave with him. Like, she would have had life with him then. Like, there would have been no trickery, nothing. He wouldn't have died and got caught in the crossfires. She could have just made that decision. But then she would have had to live with the fact of knowing that her family think bad of her. You know what I mean? And she let down the other suitor, and that would cause conflict, and that might come into, you know, then they might hunt them down, and like, you know what I'm trying to say? So it was like, she had all this worry and fear, right, about it. And perhaps her parents were bluffing, like, yeah, we'll disentitle you. Maybe they disentitle her for a year. But maybe, like, they wouldn't have been so mad if they saw that she went ahead with it. So, you know, she was just a young girl. Like, they were obviously going to be, like, play on her weaknesses. Like, you're not going to have this lifestyle. You're not going to have any of this. But did she have it anyway? She really didn't, because she stabbed herself with a sword. And she was making plans to get away from it anyway. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, wouldn't it have been better just to have been honest with her parents and be like, listen, what you believe is wrong to me. I love you, but I'm going. You know, like, she could have just done that. The story probably would have been much different. So sometimes if you be communicating, you be honest, and you don't have to waste all this time coming up with some plan to fool everyone thinking you look this way and really you're that way. Like, I mean, if anyone, I feel like Aries can sometimes be a mastermind that way. Like, they can try to be there in a lot of different ways for a lot of different people. So maybe the Knight of Cups is saying, if you're on a journey of happiness, take notes from this King of Swords underneath this Knight of Cups. You also need to protect yourself and have communication and make sure your ideas are growing in importance and in communication. Like, you're making it more predominantly known to the people that work with you. So that way, this King of Pentacles, when you let go of the things that don't serve you, you leave room to grow your highest wealth of all. And the King of Pentacles is very much like that. It's a card of personal wealth. Yeah, we have no more right to consume happiness without producing it than to consume wealth without producing it. Someone who's driven by the physical world, resources, and finances. So, you could be thinking that somebody with all the rights set up, like, this King of Pentacles could represent, like, Juliet's family. Like, you'll only be wealthy if you marry this person, if you do this, or if you have this job, or blah, 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 right? I myself have done that in the past. Like, I've chosen college and university schooling that I thought, okay, I'm just going to be this money maker when I get out. And halfway through school, something would happen. I'd get sick, or just finances would be, and then I wouldn't be able to finish. And sometimes people would be like, oh, well, you drop out or you failure and all this stuff. But the thing was, is I already knew that I could do it. It's just I wouldn't get my 10 of Cups there. I wouldn't felt the love. I wouldn't have been, like, as I got into it more and I started understanding what it actually was and the risks that could be, I started to realize it wasn't the right fit for me. So that's what I'm trying to say. And then sometimes when you make that decision for yourself, other people look at you like you're crazy. Like, why would you have done that? Like, you've wasted. Was it a waste? Or did I just not have to commit and waste all my money to get the main idea? Now I have that. I don't need the rest. So that's what Juliet should have said to your family, her family. Like, I love you. Thank you for everything you've done for me thus far. But this is where I'm really happy. And I'm not going to care that you think it's a bad idea or you hate their family or if you don't like who they are. Because I do. And it's my life. And she would have been a lot happier had she done that, perhaps. She would have. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, a lot of people feel like when you're following your passion, when you're following who you are, when you're doing the things you're supposed to be doing, that it's going to come with all this, you know what I mean? All this, like, you're not gonna, like you're moving away from the coin. But the coin follows whoever's doing the work. So if you're the type of person that you can only go to war, be a knight, if you are passionate about something. Like the Ace of Wands poked out like earlier, like, and she has this staff that she's fashioned into this cane, that perhaps she renovated that rough, raw, natural Ace of Wands into that cane. So she clearly knows what she's doing. She's a fashionista in that card, this girl. She's definitely a fashionista, so you think she's gonna be like, hey, you need to wear these clothes because it makes you look smart. She's gonna be like, nah, I'm smart anyway, I'm gonna wear what I want. So there you go. So it's like the fated life versus the destiny life. Like sometimes, you know, people will be like, this is your fate, and you'll be like, well, why is this destiny calling? So yeah, so just kind of look out for that. And deep cellular healing. Cellular is on your level, like it's what you're made up. We're all made up of stardust and star energy. So your deep cellular healing can only come when you're living the life that is totally meant for you. And that's not something other people can tell you what it is, but they can kind of help motivate you and show you by them being in their happiness. You know, people can kind of promote what that is for themselves to give you an idea of what it is for yourself. And in some cases, you know, you could have a shared dream, and in some cases, you know, the dream you're dreaming might not even be dreamt yet, like, might not actually be in the real world yet. So sometimes it's easier to find your place, and sometimes it can be harder. Don't think that just because it's taking longer for you, that you're a failure, or that you've lost time, or that it's not working. Like, you definitely have that within you to get all the things you really want out of life. Don't let people oh, I really had a sore throat today. Not sore, but just like I swear to God, I think I'm lactose intolerant, because every time I have milk and cheese, even though I love milk and cheese, I get a lot of phlegm and stuff, and it's getting worse with age. Next month's my birthday, so I'll be turning 31, so probably got to start dieting in a healthy way, like change my diet. Deep cellular healing. I don't think it means your cell phones. Arcturus energy, physical and emotional healing. Your body knows how to heal. Healing is your natural state. Physical and emotional disharmony can be a reflection of how the world, inner and outer, has been out of alignment. If you're suffering from a mystery or chronic illness, don't allow yourself to think you've done something wrong. Today it's difficult to navigate our health. If this card has made its way to you, you're being called to focus on your healing in practical ways, to prioritize your health, to be kind and tender to your miraculous body, to give yourself the grounding and care you need, to put your body first, to nourish yourself as you would a newborn baby, to treat yourself with tender care. You may be called to switch things up with your body or your emotional well-being, to call in a team of helpers to support you in navigating any challenges you may be experiencing emotionally. The Arcturians are a galactic group of beings who have mastered deep cellular and emotional healing. They want you to know that it's possible to feel vibrant in your body and well in your skin, to have yourselves return to efference and vitality, to find calmness and contentedness, to have a soothed nervous system and a tranquil heart. Starseed activation. Place the card on the portal of your heart and whisper the following. I take back my vitality and energy and feel more and more healthy each and every day. My body knows how to heal. My body knows how to heal. That's beautiful, like, you know, like, that's what I'm trying to say. A lot of times, it's an inner listening for some. For some people, the answers are within. That's beautiful. Wow, it's almost an, what is it? 45 minutes in. We've only got Aries done. Maybe I'll just do the fire signs in one video and upload it. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. So the next one, I'm going to do is Leo. Leo. Yeah, I'm going to do the fire signs. $43.30 timestamp for Leo. All right. So this will be a growth and release reading for Leo for January for their highest good. Those three cards came out. Let's go. Cracked open, rock bottom, surrender to the alchemy of life. Surrender to the alchemy of life, Leo. Okay, starting out for Leo, we have the Three of Swords. Now the Three of Swords is sort of like a broken heart, and I guess if it's in the no position, it's something that you do know. It's not like, oh, you're going to be brokenhearted. It's like you know the thing that broke you, or I don't really want to say that you're broken, but you feel like you've gotten a few swords wedged into your heart. And that's what the Three of Swords is. It's sort of like, you know, all the cogs aren't working now because the swords in this mechanical heart, represented in this one, it's a mechanical heart, are in the way. So the timing is off, the mechanics is off, The environment is off. Behind it is like a fence that looks not maintenance either. So the environment is like our internal stuff is a reflection of our environment sometimes. Lots of smoky clouds and dark skies in the background. But the spotlight is like shining down on this broken clockwork of a heart. So threes are all about I still don't have these. I should have these with like book tabs, colored tabs. I will do that by next time. I will. I'm getting better, I promise. Slowly but surely. Okay, threes, creative and nurturing. Threes are creativity and nurturing. So right now, the way in which you're nurturing or you're not feeling nurtured, your creativity could be stifled. Could be some stuff that's just making you feel just not good. But often these swords kind of get haphazardly placed into our heart. And often, even though it comes from our environment, we're the ones that decide that the sword goes in and stays in. So it's sort of like, have you ever seen that old commercial back in the 90s for back pain? I think it was like for Advil or something. You know that little, it's almost like those artist wooden puppet dummies, sort of, and they keep putting these pins in the character, and he can't walk. He's sort of like, ugh, you know, and he can't walk, and then they start, like, you know, because he took Advil, they start taking the pins out, and then he can walk, and he feels good. Well, it's sort of like that. It's sort of like we've got all these pins in us, and now we need to, like, remove the pins. And in life, removing the pins one by one is letting it go, is releasing it. And here in your let go position is the Nine of Swords. And then in your growing position, you have the Knight of Swords. And again, the Knight of Swords in the growing position is, look at my plan. Have you ever laid eyes on something so lovely? Someone whose actions are motivated by new ideas, systems, and communication. Exactly. So you have ideas. You've analyzed the systems in your environment and within yourself. And now there needs to be communication, the right type of communication. Either the communication between yourself and your heart, or and know yourself, and then have the communication with the right people in your life to make things better. But we have to understand that we only need that one sword to protect us. We do not need 3 and 9. Like, that's way too many swords. Like you don't win the battle by having more swords. Unless they're so brittle they keep breaking and you need to go get another one. But typically, take out those swords, and when you remove those swords from your heart, like in a mental exercise of just letting it go, save a sword. And this sword is not the petty little thoughts that are weighing you down. This sword is like the last sword where it's like, it gives you a memory back to all the other hurts and stuff and the wisdom gained. So this is like the true sword, the true thought that lets you know that, yes, I can't be paranoid that all these bad things can happen, but I'm definitely wiser for that situation. You know how to conquer that situation. And the Nine of Swords is, finding my swords here. It's like nightmares, and it's in a let go position. So let go of the worries. Like you're a Leo. Like you're about the sunshine. You know, like it doesn't feel good to be sitting in bed, like lying awake or having maybe sleeping problems. And just having a lot of negative dreams or thoughts, like it just seems like your psyche is in a kind of broken-hearted, and now it seems like because your heart has maybe been broken for so long, maybe it feels like your mind's broken too, like you just don't know, like you're overwhelmed. But the heart and mind are different. They are linked. So in order to get back your heart first. It's like, be happy when there's nothing to be happy about. That's how we manifest a higher vibration. Really start to have that communication with your heart. Be like, okay, I know it hurts me, but get back into that relationship with yourself of what really feeds you and makes you happy. And allow that to make you happy. The Knight of Swords, the long, dark tea time of the soul, isn't nearly as romantic as one imagines. The power of worry and regret. Like, don't regret things that have happened before. If they didn't happen, good. They didn't happen for a reason. I know it might hurt to hear that, but it happened for a reason so that you can go down a road you were meant to. So that you have this knowledge. And the universe is pointing, like, it's okay to feel negative about some things, but the universe is really trying to be like, well, you're a Knight of Swords now. Like, you've learned the peace that you needed to actually be able to go for what you want and be confident there. If 10 is completion, 9s are compromises, possible stagnation, and satiation. So yeah, like, maybe you've been compromising too much. You gotta let go of some of those compromises. Like, some compromises you have, like, you can't compromise on. Like, you know, when it comes to, like, responsibilities, like in parenthood and things like that. You know, there is certain things you can't compromise on in life. And it leaves you to feel stagnant, like nothing's moving forward. Maybe all this nurturing and creativity that you have been doing, it's just not done in a way that's really the best use of your energy. Maybe there's a new, and Knight of Swords in the growing position is all about systems, ideas, communication. Like, there could be a way for you to get things that you need to do done in a new way. Like, be open to adapting a sort of new routine with yourself, to revamp yourself, to kind of get yourself out of that stagnation. The first couple of weeks starting a new routine, that's when, like, you know, the negativity, like the devil creeps in and be like, nah, you know, this ain't working, so stop. But often, you have to really stick with a new routine for 2 to 3 weeks before you really see the benefit. Like, before your body begins to be like, it's not challenging anymore, it's become easy, there's more of an ease to it, momentum. And that creates gravity. And when you have more gravity about the routine you have, you attract more of the things that reflect the you that you're trying to be. So yeah, so definitely, and I'm going to get a clarifying card on that 3 of Swords. Page of Wands popped out. Page of Wands. So you could be feeling a little bit disappointed in a person that seems like the Page of Wands, or you could have been embodying the Page of Wands energy, and that's what's got you kind of, because a page is not a knight. Like, in your growing situation, you're becoming a wise Knight of Swords. In this no position paired with the broken heart, it's just a page. A page is a little bit more of a novice in compared to a knight. And a knight is like the middle profession between a page and a king. So it seems to me that you are transitioning between the Page of Wands energy and the King of Swords. The Page of Wands says, yes, I have a very cool weapon. Yes, I know how to use it. No, I'll do it when I'm good and ready. Someone who is ready to try something new based on will, inspiration, or passion. And I'll just read it because I kind of think the Page of Wands kind of needs to be read to be understood. The Page of Wands is sort of like the proverbial ugly duckling. One expects the wand court to be universally confident, extravagant, and charming. Mostly they are. Part of their charm is that they make everything look so easy. It didn't start out that way, though. The Page of Wands has, I think, the worst time of all the pages. Her ego is such an important part of her that it cripples her. She is so afraid of making a mistake or looking foolish that she hesitates and refuses to act until she is sure she can do it perfectly, or do it so perfectly. Her shyness and awkwardness are heartbreaking. She is the proverbial ugly duckling. You and I know she'll grow into a stunning swan. Even part of her knows it, but right now she's too afraid of messing up. To her, there's nothing worse than being laughed at. When the Page of Wands peeks in your direction, do the time to mentor her. She has so much natural ability and passion. All she needs is a bit of confidence and maybe a little safety net, and she'll blossom. Perhaps she will grow into a powerful ally or supportive friend. Maybe in helping her find her confidence, she'll rediscover a little of your own. Okay, so, yeah, like if you've ever seen The Ugly Duckling, there's a free Ugly Duckling story on YouTube that sometimes I watch. Like I don't know, when I was a kid I grew up with it, so I really loved the little animation of it, The Ugly Duckling. But he was placed in the wrong nest. I mean, sometimes we could be biologically born into our family, but we can still feel like, whoa, we're so different. What, did the stork get it wrong? So there is a phenomenon of sometimes the apple does fall far from the tree. In this case, yes. The ugly duckling, you know, at the end, you know, it's like he was already full grown, he was already the swan, and this is the part that almost made me cry. It was like the other swans were swimming by, and he idolized the swans. Like, he thought, these are such beautiful creatures. I wish I could be a swan. But everyone else, like, looked at them as elite and, like, you know, sort of, like, non-approachable. So he was a bit scared of them. Like, he thought, like, they wouldn't like him, because everybody else, you know, the ducks and every other animal, like, kind of said, yeah, you're ugly, Granny's buddy, and made jokes, you know? So when he was in this shrouded tree covering, and these swans swam by in a row, he looked at them and said, please, beautiful creatures, kill me, for I am ugly, I am not worthy, please kill me. And then the ducks were like, geez, what a compliment, like, but like, they were taken back, they were like, what is this? And they swam and looked into the thing, and they're like, brother, they're like, can you not see yourself? You are just as lovely, if not more lovely than we are. Come out here and look at yourself properly. And then he came out into the sunlight and looked down in the water as a reflection, and it was true. He was the whitest, purest looking swan of them. Like, the other ones had black beaks, but he was like one of the swans that were all white. I don't know. Maybe that could be like colonist subliminality, but you know, like, white represents purity, so I guess if all the regular swans had a little bit of black on their nose and he was all white, I guess it just meant that he was the most beautiful inside of all, and he didn't realize it, so maybe that's what made him beautiful. I don't know, but but like, there was that little thing there. It was like, hey, like, you think we're beautiful? Like, you're actually like the more rare swan. Like, if people were paying for a swan, they probably would pay more for the all-white one because it probably represents love or the symbolism more. I don't know. That actually sounds really fricked up to say, but I didn't make it up. It's in a show from the old days. Like, yeah. Anyway, don't hate me. But But yeah, so I just thought that that was interesting. Like you know, to be like, hey, kill me, I'm so ugly. And they're like, literally, like, you're just as, if not more beautiful than we are. Like, I guess that was just like the pinpoint of it. Like being like, you should really believe in yourself more. Because you don't know if someone finds you more beautiful. You know, like other people might have valued you and said you're ugly. Because, yeah, if they're judging you as a duck, you're an ugly duck. But if they're judging you as a swan, you know, or if people value a swan, they'll value you as beautiful. Or something like that. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking. But yeah, the Page of Wands is like the ugly duckling. Because they're so hard on themselves and they're such perfectionists, by the time they actually do come into their own, they're often exquisite. Like, and yet they still might be stuck. Like, they could have already, like, reached that position of being able to move on, and they're not allowing themselves to. So I think that's what's happening here. Let the broken hearts in the past. It's how other people viewed you. It's how they valued you. You have your own value, and you're a swan. And now this Knight of Swords knows that it's a swan. So it's not going to let these nightmares happen anymore. So let's get something on the Knight of Swords. Let's get something on the Knight of Swords. The Knight of Swords. Yeah, the Hangman. You're going to get a new view on life. And that comes with uncomfortableness. But don't allow yourself to lose sleep over it. Like the Nine of Swords. Like the Hangman is hung in his bliss in some ways. Like you're getting this new perspective from the universe so that you can grow in the ways you're meant to. You can understand the ideas and the systems and this communication that you need to be having better. Like the duckling, the ugly duckling communicated with the ducks a lot differently than he's going to be acting and treating and having that self-esteem with the other swans. So I think you're transitioning from like being valued as a duck and not even a duck. Like people are like, you're not even a duck, like you're the ugliest duck. And now you're going to be moving into a group of people where it's like, or maybe this is within yourself, but then the environment starts to reflect it, that now, you know, when people are starting to view you in this different way, it could be a bit foreign to you. You're like, wow, you really value me? You know, or maybe within yourself, you're like, wow, I value myself now. Like, I don't see myself as the ugly duckling anymore. I really feel like I'm the swan. So that's what that could be. And see here, like your Nine of Swords, if you don't let this 9 hold you back, boom, you'll have your 10 of Cups, which is happiness, completion. But if you keep running with that Nine of Swords energy, feeling like you're not enough, like you're the ugly duckling, then, like, yeah, don't stay stuck in that broken-hearted negative energy. Be happy when there's nothing to be happy about. That's what raises your vibration. So really focus on what makes you feel like you're flying, like a swan, like you're beautiful, like you can go to the best lakes. Because in that show, the ducks sort of had to, like, you know, make deals with the cat so that they could get the wild ducks in the farm could come onto the farm, and the cat would leave them in peace and let them steal some of the chicken food and stuff. Like, they would get fed because the cat would get to eat one of them every so often. So it was like this hierarchy of, like, not being valued, and because all the ones in that community attacked this one duck's family because she had an ugly duck, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? And then these swans now can go to the real beautiful lake where the kids of, you know, some rich family are there having a picnic, and they're like, here, let's give bread to the swans, and they're giving all this food to the swan, and this cake and stuff to the swans, and the swans are looking back at the ugly duckling like, it's okay, you come on, like, you'll never have to be undesirable again, like, come with us and get treated like, you know, like, well. So that could be a bit foreign, like learning to go from, you know, begging for scraps and having to pay the price to all of a sudden people are just adorning you with what you need. So yeah, so sometimes it's about making that internal switch, realizing your value for yourself, and then the outside world values you. You know, like even after he became a full-grown swan, he stayed, he didn't migrate, and he stayed. He didn't leave with the other swans. Like, he stayed that whole winter, and it was just so sad. So he literally grew up in isolation by himself. Like, so that's why it was really hard for him to see that he had grown into this swan. And that's the thing. It's like sometimes when we're going through darkness, we isolate for a bit. And I think you have. And I think don't allow yourself to stay there anymore, like in this Nine of Swords energy. Like, don't allow yourself to be like, you know, just fraught with worry and all that, because that's going to be the new constant. Like, you know, if that swan said to the other swans when they said, hey, you're just beautiful as us, like, come with us, you know, this is where you belong. If he would have been like, no, even if I am a swan, I still feel bad. And if he had stayed behind, they would have been like, okay, and I guess that's what you want. And, you know, so often these stories are hinting to our ability of choice. Like, when we are ready to step out of the shadows, we can finally be that swan. So step out of those shadows so that you can get to your Ten of Cups. You can be happy and stuff. And cracked open, like the swan, the baby duckling had to hatch from the egg and realize that the world, you know, thought he couldn't swim right, couldn't do this. And then when he got in the water, he was a better swimmer than his siblings. And then they were like, oh, we can't bring him to the social gathering because he'll make all the other babies look bad, and they'll be unconfident and they won't be able to swim. So it was like, and that's why, you know, I have so much personal enjoyment of that story, because often the people that are the most different or magical and stuff, often, you know, it's like people will have good and bad things to say. It's like, oh, you can't do it. And then when you can do it really well, it's like, oh, well, now you're showing people up. Like, a lot of times if people don't like you, they're not going to like you. If they don't value you, they're not going to value you no matter what you do or how awesome you are. So go where you're valued. And sometimes it's like being cracked open in the wrong nest and having the world reject you and hitting rock bottom in order to surrender to the alchemy of life. Because eventually, he realized that if he stayed with his duck family, the rest of the social people were going to outcast them and they would starve. So he knew he had to leave. He had to leave and submit himself to the harsh realities of the world on his own so that he could let the world alchemically transform him into that swan. So sometimes it's about leaving our comfort zone, leaving the places that don't value us. Now, of course, in the show, his duck mom, he actually comes back with the swans, his group of swans, to the original farm pond. And when they arrive, all the other ducks are like, why are the swans here? Yes, they never come here. Not to our humble pond. And then as soon as they were there and his mother was still, you know, swimming by, kind of like, you know, like really sad and rejected. Like, you can tell, like, even after he left, like, they might have, like, gotten some sort of food, but they lived in, like, poverty. They weren't happy. Or, you know, they just got by a little better because he wasn't there, maybe. But they still weren't happy. And when he walked by and he looked at him, he said, Mother. And when she turned and she's like, is that you? She was so happy because she always did love him, right? It's just right after they got in trouble at the farm, he swam by and overheard part of the conversation because the babies, his siblings, looked at Mom and said, and they basically said something like, they're like, now we'll never get the farmer's food again because of this. And then she's like, yes, I hate to say it, but it might have been better if he had never come to us. You know, and she just meant it like to her other, you know, to her other babies, like, you know, she always did stand up for him, but at that point, her other kids, she knew it was going to be bad for her family now because of it, and she just wanted to explain to them, like, yeah, it might have been better for us if it didn't come. And then as soon as he heard it and flown away, she turned around and she's like, where is he? And they were obviously sad, but what I'm trying to say is, what I'm trying to say, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Yeah, the alchemy of life. Sometimes we have to submit and surrender to the alchemy of life. We have to be cracked open so we can let that ugly duckling go. So that way we can actually become that pure light swan. Rock bottom, surrender to the alchemy of life. Don't let the weight and destiny of the world squash your tender spirit. Instead, let it call even more of it home. Your body, into your body, at the center front of your life. It's through the extreme pressures of life's trials that diamonds are cultivated. It's when things are at their darkest that we cultivate proper faith, and our light is ignited. It's through the crumbling that we allow our wounds to be alchemized. Let your pain, sorrow, and losses make you, not break you. Let life alchemize your tragedies into gold. Be open to being cracked open, wide open. It's the difficult times that help us grow, in leaps and bounds, and in ways we could only dream were possible. But first they have to crack us open. Sometimes it hurts like hell. It's nature's way. Whether you let it happen or not, it's going to happen. So surrender to the process. It's how the light gets in. When your heart cracks open, a space is created for your soul to more fully enter. When your soul cracks open, a space is created for the grace of the Holy Spirit to enter. Let your trials, your sorrows, your pains, and your losses transform you into more and more of yourself. Stay open to the possibility that your tragedies, your losses, your sorrows, and your hurt happened for you, not to you. Bless the thing that broke you down and cracked you open, because the world needs you open. Surrender to the alchemy of life. Starseed inquiry, how can you let life crack you open? Exactly, like if the little baby duckling didn't go through, if that ugly duckling didn't go through those trials, he wouldn't have gotten to the point where he could be at the lake getting cake and feeling like he belongs with the other swans. And sometimes that's what's good about like nursery rhymes or cartoons, or because they create a visual. Now light and dark, white, black, like yin yang, like it's all needed. And often, you know, because humans sleep at night, we do concern dark as mystery and stuff like that. But think about it, in your mother's womb, you are cultivated, nourished in darkness. When we come out into the world and we're born, it's take our first breath of life, see the lights, it's like a headache, like it's overwhelming. It takes time to grow into and to allow more light, more crack, more of that to crack us open and make us, you know, first time we get the flu, we're really, really sick. And the second time gets easier as we get older. You know, first can be hard. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like when you're looking at these visuals, because I like to do art, so it's easy to look at black and white terms as like white good, black, you know, not so desirable. But really, for me as an artist, I love all the color and all the texture, because if you don't have that darkness, the light don't pop. And if you don't have that light, the darkness doesn't have depth and body and richness. You know, like for me, it's all good. And that's what I'm trying to say. The swan had its bad times. And now, because it had it so rough in the first half of its life, that's probably why it can be so pure and happy and feel like it belongs and just be so happy in that second part. So sometimes we have to be really sort of brokenhearted, or, you know, sometimes we have to go through that time of slow and stagnation and just, this is lacking, so that we can really figure out what fills us up, what makes us happy. And that's what I got for you, Leo. I hope that helps. I mean, normally you guys are so sunny and happy to everyone. Even if you're having a dark time or a rough time, a lot of the people that really care about you, love you, and support you may not know that because you don't always give them that darker aspect of yourself. What I'm seeing here is fall in love with the things that fulfill you, and make peace with that darkness that's inside you. Like, make peace with it to the point where you're thankful for it. Because I'm sure that's why that swan went back to the duck pond to visit his mom. And he said to her, she's like crying, she's like, I'm so glad you found your place. I always knew you were special. And he said, and then, or something, and then, like, this is where you belong now, and, or something, and then he said, you'll always be my mother. So no matter what, he made peace with his past, with the farm, with all the people that were so mean to him, and because now they weren't. They were, like, all speechless, and they were respectful. Like, they weren't saying stuff then. And he didn't say anything mean to them. He didn't come back to be like, yeah, you're all, you know, he just came back to kind of be like, hey, Mom, thank you for the life. Like, he was grateful for his experiences, because now it made him probably one of the more popular swans. Like, all the other swans looked at him like, wow, you're so humble, and, you know, like, you've come from such adversity, and you're so worthy now to be with us and to have it good, because you've had it so bad, and maybe that teaches them to be grateful for what they have. So gratitude. The more grateful we are for what we have, the more we'll attract. You know what I mean? So have that confidence within yourself. Have that confidence, Leo. Thank you. Thank you so much, Leos. One hour and 20 minutes. Timestamp for Leo. Alright, so now we are going to do Sagittarius. Sagittariuses are hilariouses. I think I have Sagittarius in one part of my chart. My mom's a Sagittarius, so I love Saggies. They're so funny, and they're sociable. They love to talk. They're great people. So, let's get into your reading. Growth and release for Sagittarius for the month of January for their highest good. and release month of January. Sagittarius, month of January, growth and release for the highest. The void. Stop. Embrace winter. Great cosmic womb. Oh, stretch. All right, let's do it. Fours. Fours are stability, structure, organization, stagnation. The Four of Pentacles. Is a penny saved always a penny earned? Or is it sometimes a penny wasted, gathering power? So right now, Sagittarius, you just could be saving. Saving your money, saving your ideas, saving your creativity, saving your nurture. You could be just saving a lot of stuff, like gathering your personal power or your physical power, physical things perhaps too. So the flow of energy. But if you're in the saving all the time, that becomes stagnant. And fours, stability, structure, organization, stagnation. So you just could be, if it's in the no position, so you just could know that right now you're just saving up a lot of stuff. You're not feeling very adventurous right now. Which makes sense because of the time frame we're in. A lot of Saggies are probably in the stable. Like, I always think of Sagittarius like a big bold horse wanting to run, and or you know, it is the centaur, right? The archer, half man, half horse. And I always think that when Saggies are like cooped up too long, or like when they're like in the barn, let's say, too long and not let out to pasture to run and stretch their legs, like they could feel very stagnant. And in some cases, if a horse, you know, stays laid up too long, you know, I mean, they potentially put it down, because it's a sin, right, if they can't walk, right, because that's all they can do. So I'm not trying to say, like, you know, but it could be like creative death. Like, you could be like experiencing like this laid upness where it's like, oh, I have to save this, save that, save. When am I going to have time to run in the sun again? You could be feeling that way, potentially for some. Or for others, you could know where you're going and you're just saving for that. You're just waiting for that time. You're gathering your power and just waiting for that sweet time, that good time to launch that idea or to do that thing. So the King of Wands is quite the fellow. If only we'd stop trying to be happy, we could have a pretty good time. Someone who is driven by will, inspiration, and passion. So yeah, like right now gathering power, and the growing energy is this King of Wands. And it's like if we stop trying to be happy, we could have a pretty good time. So if you're saving and gathering and gathering and gathering, it's like you're trying to be happy at a future time, but you're never happy right now. And perhaps this king and this growing awareness of this king energy with either outside of you or within you is reminding you that be happy when there's nothing to be happy about. Like, you know, like, and sometimes a penny saved is a penny wasted. Like, you know, invest in that thing you could be doing now, whether it be money or resource or your time. Allow yourself to give some of that power you've been saving up so that you can enjoy your present. Because when you enjoy your present will and when you bring out your present will and you allow the inspirations to take place and you to be inspired, other people to be inspired by you, and when you grow the sense of passion and cultivate that in the present, you'll have more of that in the future, and the more you have, the more you attract. So, the King of Wands is all about passion. They're nothing if they're not passion. They have an intense will and they inspire a lot of people. That's very much Sagittarius type of energy, that fire, that passion. Again, we see twos as duality, balance, and relationship choice. And right now you have the Two of Pentacles. Now the Two of Pentacles is a card about balancing your physical resources, your time, your money, your effort, relationships. You could be balancing a lot of things right now. And because of that, it's left you to be riding this bicycle with the infinity chain. And she's riding this bicycle on water. One of the wheels is massive, one of the wheels is small. And she's trying to balance between the two with the infinity symbol. I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. Maintaining balance. Merely riding on those penny feathering bicycles would be hard enough, but riding across water seems impossible. How and why is she compelled to do this? The answer is simple, but the linen skate holds the key to this mystery. We've seen this before in the Magician and the High Priestess and the Strength cards. The interesting symbol represents the infinite flow of the universe. In tarot, it usually speaks to a union of or the relationship between opposites. In the Magician, there's a relationship between above and below in terms of as above, so below. In Strength, it is delicate dance between the self and the shadow. In the Two of Pentacles, we see the relationship between the available resources such as time and energy and perceived need. She exerts great will and strength reminiscent of the Magician and Strength in order to retain this balance. This card rides in your reading. You find yourself hard-pressed to balance everything that you feel needs balancing. Oh, you can and will do it. Maybe not for long, but for as long as necessary. Determining what must be balanced brings up another important question. The water over which she rides is so furiously should be considered. Water represents emotion, and it is the presence of this water that creates the need picture here. She feels that she needs to do this. It is perceived need, not necessarily a real need. Do a quick reality check in your life. Do you not need to do everything you think or feel you need to? Okay, so it's in the let go position. So there's just something here that isn't the best use of your time. You're going to have to let go of the things that are not the best use of your time. Maybe you have to stop saving and gathering power. Or like, why are you gathering power? Like, there must be a reason you need to gather power. But while you're gathering that power, are you letting a lot of other passions and things that come along? Are you doing all the work for other people, expecting like a complete opposite person that doesn't share a lot of it, a lot of things you do, but there's something that you need them for. So maybe you think, if I do all this for this opposite person, maybe they'll do it for me. And maybe that just seems like riding a broken bicycle, because they're like, well, you made a choice to put your energy there. So that's what I think it's in the let go position. It's saying, yes, you're balancing, yes, you're saving, yes, you're gathering power. But what about your passion? Are you serving other kings of wands and their passion, or are you becoming a king of your own passion? Are you learning to go in the direction and balance things for yourself instead of for others, maybe? So that's something to maybe think about. The void, stop, embrace winter, great cosmic womb. So I'm going to read your card here. Or actually, no, I'll do your cross, your clarifying card first. Alright, give me something on that. Sorry. There we go. Give me something on the Four of Pentacles, please. King of Cups. You're gathering power for your King of Cups. King of Cups is the energy within yourself or without yourself, but if you're attracted to an energy of a King of Cups outside of yourself, it's probably because you share some sort of connection or love on that level. So that's why I said it's either within yourself, like you're embodying that energy, or would want to embody that energy. But it's in the know position, so you know if it's like that's your energy or if it's a person. Where's the King of Cups? Here we are. Affliction comes to us not to make us sad, but sober. Not to make us sorry, but wise. Someone who's driven by emotion, art, and relationships. So yeah, Saggy, you're saving and saving and saving for your great emotion, for your great art, for the greatest relationship of all. Keep that in mind, but bring shards and fragments of what that is in any small way into your present daily life now. Make a ritual out of it, because then it'll attract more and more profound and more powerful ways of those fragments. So let me see if I can think of an idea for that, or an example for that. It's sort of like, say you want to be a great artist, but you haven't really tried drawing before, so you're going to have to, like, every day take a half an hour to an hour, whatever your time frame is, and just draw. Doesn't matter if it's good, bad, stick figures, whatever. Just draw. Then after a week, you'll notice you put in 7 hours of drawing. So you're bound in week 2 to be better than week 1. And then because you're doing that practice, and you're committing to it, it's becoming easier, and then you're realizing, oh, I want to look this up, and you're more motivated to look that up because, you know, you're feeding off that creative energy. You're wanting to bring that next art into creation. And then between a month and a year, you're a better artist than you were when you started. So some people might just be like gathering the materials to be an artist, and like you're just gathering or saving, and they might not be starting. And if you're not starting, you're kind of always going to be waiting to start. It's always going to be in the future. So that's what I think the King of Cups is saying. It's saying if you're waiting for the right emotion or relationship to, and that's why you're saving all this stuff for, it's saying no time like the present. And this growing awareness of the King of Wands says to you that you have the passion, you have the love, you have a lot of what you need for yourself. And there is that within your environment, and you will start attracting it once you start putting in that daily conscious practice of being happy when there's something to be happy about, acting like you already got it, putting some sort of small form of practice of what you want into place daily so that you can grow and manifest and call to you the things you need. Let's get a clarifying card on the King of Wands in the grow position. You got the Queen of Wands. So the King and Queen of Wands is growing. Like you're going to find your match, the right people that are like passionate with you. There's just a lot of passions going on within yourself and outside of yourself. And if you allow other people's passions to take priority over yours, you're always going to be riding that Two of Pentacles bicycle on the water. You're going to be feeling like you're balancing, but you're not really going anywhere. Or you're not going to the, you're going somewhere, but to yourself, you'll feel like I'm not going to where I need to be going. Like there's no right or wrong way to do anything, but how you feel about it is what makes it right or wrong for you. So yeah, this Queen of Wands energy is, why are you still sitting there? For goodness sake, why am I still sitting here? Oh, let me see. What? Ellen Z. Someone who supports and nurtures the will, inspiration, and passions of others. Are you that person? Are you nurturing the passions of others? And you're working so hard on their passions that they're looking at you like, well, if we didn't, like, because you're working so hard on other people's passions, maybe you're feeling unfulfilled and that bubbles over into the life, and then other people are taking notice, like, if we didn't try to be happy, we could just be happy. Because maybe you're taking on more than you need to. Like, once you take it on, it becomes a norm for somebody else, and then once you drop that ball, they're like, well, you dropped the ball, and you're like, well, I didn't have to do the ball in the first place, but they were like, whoa, okay, well, why were you dribbling the ball if you were going to drop it? So it's like really understand, where are you putting your time? What is the best use of your time? You're not obligated to do anything more than what you need to do for yourself, for your highest good. And then that's when it allows the world to kind of come in. And if you don't, you'll have this Ten of Wands burden that you'll have to put down. It'll just be too much. It'll be like you're balancing too much for that's not worth your time. So yeah, let go of that, the heavy burden. And get back to like this Six of Cups, like, you know, this energy of nostalgia, good times, and like sweet connections you've shared. And allow the past times that made you happy to fill yourself, and so that way you can manifest more of that good time, that good energy. Tens are completions, the Six of Cups. Yeah, the Six of Cups kind of energy. despair, the smallest act becomes unspeakably beautiful. Happy memories. Allow yourself to think of happy memories. Because if you're gathering and gathering and saving, you could be really pent up. Maybe that's what's giving you some sort of negative energy, which is affecting your manifestation right now. Maybe it's saying there's never going to be the right time. So right now, make it the right time. Say to yourself, meditate, think happy thoughts. Then you can fly, like Peter Pan. You can fly, you can fly, you can fly, you can fly. Ha, ha, you can fly. Sprinkle some pixie dust and feel happy. So yeah, like have some little ritual, you know, where it's like, if you're really in a bad mood, play a certain song that relaxes you. And every time you play that song, think the happy thoughts. And then eventually, maybe you might not need to play the song anymore. Maybe you'll hear it in your head because it'll be so familiar. And you'll be able to use some sort of ritual, physical element, like the pixie dust, or so something physical in the world that can remind you to take your happiness, to fly high, to be good for yourself, like, and good to yourself, like treat yourself well. So yeah, so that's what I like for you guys. So the void. The void. Can't find this card. The void. Here we are. The void. Stop. Embrace winter. Great cosmic womb. Everything and nothing exists in the void. It's where all life begins and ends. It's the winter and the womb, the fertile darkness where all things originate and all seeds grow, comforting and intimidating, freeing and daunting. It can feel both overwhelmingly small and huge. The void is where faith lives. The message of the void is to surrender to the unknown, to allow the fertile darkness of nothingness to nourish the new seeds growing within you. Regardless of whether you know what they'll one day become, you're being called to surrender to the mystery of what's next, to rest and to allow the winter of your life to do the work for you, to hand over your control and trust that just because you can't see what's happening beneath the surface, it doesn't mean that things aren't at work. The greatest weavings happen when we find a way to surrender and trust that our life is being knitted for us, right beneath the surface, in ways known and unknownable. Now is the time to cultivate faith and allow deep, deep rest. The void often surfaces at the end of a chapter or life's phase. When we're called to let go of all that we know and identify with, when you're in the void, it can feel scary and as if you should be doing something. However, when this card appears, it is a sure sign that the most productive thing to do is relinquish control and surrender to the changing mystery of your life. How are you being called to surrender to the unknown mystery of your life? Starseed Soul Inquiry. How are you being called to surrender to the unknown mystery of your life? Like, I did say that sometimes it's when horses get laid up, you know? They feel stagnant. So it's not that you need to get busy and doing something. You can when you feel you can. But sometimes you can't do something. Like sometimes it just doesn't work out today. Or, you know, as much as you'll try to be productive and try to do the things you can do, sometimes you're just going to have to stop and embrace the winter. Sometimes there are slower, stagnant periods of time where we just have to be in the cosmic womb, the darkness. We think it's a period of non-moving, non-growth, nothing's happening. But actually that's when the most growth, the most wonderful things are coming into being. Like the calm before the storm. Like it might feel like, oh, my life has just stopped. And you might be thinking that's a bad thing. Well, instead, shift your perspective. Start to see it like, oh, now is the time for me to rest and do the internal work because I'm having this break. I don't have to like run the race or do the obstacle course or whatever sort of, you know, horses like to jump through hoops or, you know, jump, like, you know, they like to stay busy. And my mom's a Sagittarius. She loves to stay busy. And when there's nothing to do, you know, that's when, you know, a horse can feel like, you know, like they lost their spirit, like they've been broken. But that's a necessary thing. Sometimes you have to just sit in your brokenness. You just have to be in that darkness. You know, sometimes you just gotta, you know, stand up in the dark and allow the darkness to sort of do its thing. And even though you can't see what's going on, you think nothing's happening, but things are actually coming together. The universe is speaking through you, to you, and within you, and around you. So being in darkness, just because you can't see it happening, doesn't mean you don't have faith that it's going to be there for you. And that's what I think this is reminding you. It's reminding you that you are safe in the great cosmic womb. You're safe and you're growing. And sometimes it's painful, sometimes it feels stagnant. Like, I'm sure there's a point where the baby is kicking you in your stomach thinking like, well, when am I ever going to get out of here? Like, you know, I'm getting cramped. Like, you know, you're towards the end of your last trimester. You know, and he's like, I want out. But the minute he gets yanked out, you know, he's like, put me back, put me back. Oh my gosh, it's bright, it's noisy, a doctor just spanked me. Like, oh my goodness. Like, I'm pretty sure, and like people are probing you, washing you, and you're like, what is this? Like, I'm sure you go through that brief, you know, like then at that point, you know, like, light and life is way more scary than the darkness of the womb to the baby. But then when the baby, you know, gets used to light and their parents being around, then all of a sudden in the toddler phase they go to bed at night and all of a sudden they could be scared and have nightmares about the darkness. Because maybe they forgot how to be okay in the darkness. And that's okay. Like, sometimes you just need to stop and embrace winter. You have to realize that in the spring is working. The spring is coming. The seeds will bloom. So allow yourself to understand that this winter, this nothingness, this stopping is not nothingness. It's the unseen work that the universe is doing on your behalf. It's the universe saying, take the day off. You know, cultivate your happiness. Know that if you raise your vibration and you address what needs to be addressed, you water your seeds, you do the work, the universe will reward you. So with that, fill the void, stop in the void, embrace the void, embrace the great cosmic womb. We all come from the universe, the cosmic womb. We're all children of the universe, of God, and all that stuff. So those are my fire signs. I'm going to end my video and come back and do the next one, I guess, would be the earth signs. I will do earth next. Alright. signs. Thank you, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. I will see you again next month. Thank you.